Welcome to Wisdom Wednesday number 18, and today's topic is from loss of control to empowerment. So we have a question. I feel I have no control in my life. I lose friends because I talk too much. I'm overweight because I eat too much. My husband wants to leave me because I nag him too much. I am distracted and scattered because things are moving too fast for me to keep up with it. How can I find more control in my life? Does that sound a little familiar to some of you? Okay. So let's start with this. Your mind and your five senses have control over you. And the thing here is that you need to turn this around. Who's the master? Is your mind and senses the master over you? Or are you the master over your mind and senses? That's a question to contemplate. So let's take up some of those areas that you suggested there. So the first area that you talked about is you talk too much, and you're losing your friends because you talk too much. Okay, so talking is part of one of the senses. It's the mouth. It's also the mind. And so when you talk too much, you're going to lose your audience, right? Have you noticed that? When you talk, they're not interested anymore. But your deepest desire is to feel love with them and to connect with them. That's your deepest, greatest desire. But because you're kind of down on the level of just talking, you're ignoring them, and it's all about you. So you're trying to grab their attention, snatch their attention by talking incessantly. In actual fact, what's happening is you're pushing them away. So you're getting the opposite of what you really, really wanted. So what is happening in that scenario is that they're probably feeling that you are dumping your mind on them, that you are trapping them. You're trapping them energetically by you talking, and then they're forced to listen to you. So they're feeling trapped by you. And also, you're abusing their polite, social politeness to listen. And then they'll feel that you're extremely needy and that you're bleeding them. So the very thing that you want, which is love and connection, you are pushing it away. So you're indulging in your senses, and this is the result. Okay, so that's talking too much. Let's go to the other area. And the other area that you brought up was food, that you eat a lot. Okay, so there's lots of reasons why a person eats and maybe eat too much. But here's one area that's possible. So when you eat, and when you're eating a lot, you're trying to fulfill a kind of an emptiness inside of you. But your deepest desire is to feel fulfilled and to feel a connection and a love and appreciation from other people and for other people. But when you eat, it's usually an emotional trying to stuff or fill up something, or to ignore these feelings, to stuff away these feelings. So your senses, the way the senses are, is that they're changing all the time, and they're short-lived. So when you have a little taste, a nice sweet taste in your mouth, it's a quick satisfaction. It's a quick fix. So it's a lower quality of satisfaction, and it doesn't last very long, right? So the thing is that when you chase these immediate gratifications, every time you chase it, you're going to gain weight, right? So then what happens is that you gain weight, and then inside you're building this kind of more of a negative self-image of yourself, and you're saying, oh, well, people won't like me anymore because they'll see I'm overweight and they think that I don't have any control over my weight. And so, yeah, this is chasing our quick indulging in our senses for this quick satisfaction, but ultimately we don't get what we really, really want. Okay, so the other area is you were talking about nagging your husband. Okay, so that's another area where the senses are getting out of control. So it's not you that's out of control. Remember this. It's the senses that are out of control. And when we allow the senses to run us, then we feel we're out of control. So let's just talk about the nagging part here. So when you nag your husband, you're actually hoping to get closer to him. You want to feel more connection with him. You want to feel love with him, right? That's kind of what you're trying to do, but in the form of nagging. So when you indulge in your nagging, he will feel uncomfortable and he'll eventually leave you or want to leave you or ignore you or pretend you didn't say anything, or he'll do some kind of reaction. And so you're nagging him to get something done, and so what will happen eventually is that he'll leave you completely, and not only will you not get the things that you wanted him to do done, but you'll lose him too, right? So this is the power of the senses and the mind out of control. The mind and the senses are insatiable. You will never find satisfaction in just satisfying the senses. Never. So this is something really important to know. They're insatiable. And as long as you're allowing the senses to control you, you'll start to feel controlled by the senses. You think the whole world is controlling you? No, it's not the world. It's your senses. And you're the one who allowed your senses to control you and to be out of control. So I'm going to say this, that in yoga, they talk about the senses and the mind like wild horses, and you need to train and discipline your senses and your mind. You need to do it with love, compassion, and clarity. So your training is done on purpose. You're training them. You're teaching them that I'm in control here, not you. So there's a way to work with this, and it's called tapas, T-A-P-A-S. And tapas is this resistance, or I'd say going against your preferences. So if you want to have a snack, you don't have a snack. If you want to nag your husband, you don't nag your husband. If you want to talk about yourself, you don't do that. So it's going against your tendency, your preference, the urges that come up, those lower level quality urges that, oh, if I get this, then I'll get this quick satisfaction. So it's training ourselves to not settle for less. So, when you practice tapas, tapas means when you go against a preference, you're building some heat, and it may feel a little uncomfortable because you're so used to like letting all the heat out every time something happens, you just kind of find a way to distract yourself and all the heat goes out. So what we want to do in yoga is build the heat. And with heat, then we can go for what we really want. We need some energy built up. So every time you go against a preference, you're building that much more heat. And every time you go against another preference, you're building more heat. And so the heat builds, the energy starts to rise. And now, when you have more energy in your body and it's starting to rise, you're building more power and control. And what you end up getting is the very thing you really want to get, which in this case is connection and love with others. So restraining your urges will build something greater for you. So you'll have a greater gain. You will, and more quality. You won't be settling for less quality. You'll be getting more quality. So let's apply tapas in the 3 areas that we talked about. So let's say the first one was talking too much. So first of all, what's really important is you need to focus on what you really want so that you're not getting distracted by the little urges that keep coming up. So keep your mind focused on what you want. What you want is connection and love. So when you're talking too much, you want to feel that connection and love with the person you're speaking with. So in order to do that, when you speak with them, you're going to have to restrain talking about yourself a lot. So you're going to have to say, hold back. Don't talk about me, 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 me. You have to include the other person. So when you're including the other person, then they're going to start feeling connected, and you're going to start feeling connected. So you're going to resist talking about yourself, and then what you do is you ask them a question. You involve them. You create an interest. I want to know something about you. So now it's off of you. You're not talking about you. You're starting to include them, and they're going to get interested. So that energy, when they answer the question, is going to start coming back to you, and you're going to start to feel that circular, warm, fuzzy feeling of connection and love with your friend. So what you're doing is you're closing down one of the sense doors, which is your mouth, and the tendency to talk about yourself. Resist, resist, resist. Build the energy, and then you start to see the result is that, oh, look at that. I didn't talk about myself. I didn't talk very much. And look, I got what I really, really wanted, which is connection and love. Okay, let's talk about the other areas. Eating too much food. Okay, so it's a training ground. We're training ourselves here. So again, when you have the urge to eat, you have to start to connect with, get really clear about what you want. Well, what I want to feel is I want to feel good about myself. I want to feel love for myself. I want to feel that people appreciate me and see me. Okay, that I don't want them to see me negatively. So keep your attention on the highest quality of your desire, not on the lesser quality. Okay, so now you're going to start resisting your urge. So here comes that sense of emptiness coming up inside of you, and you think, oh, if I could just have that little candy bar, I'll get rid of that emptiness for a few seconds. So you're going to start saying no, because you're thinking about, respect and love. You're loving yourself more. So you're not giving in. You're not going for those little urges. So now what will happen, and this is what stops a lot of people, and I'll say this now, is that it's going to start to feel uncomfortable, right? Doesn't it feel uncomfortable when you say no to an urge? Well, this is what you do. you change your attitude. Instead of saying, oh, this is uncomfortable, I want to eat something, you say, no, I enjoy this austerity because it's beginning to make me feel empowered. So change it around. I'm empowered when I say no to my lower urges. So, and remember this, that when you say no to your lower urges, there's a fire that's starting to build in your system. And when that fire builds, or when that heat builds, it's burning off the heaviness that's going on in your body. It's called tamas, T-A-M-A-S. The tamas, the heaviness, the lethargy, the unclear thinking. When you say no, you're starting to build more clarity, more sense of power. So it's burning off the dross, the heaviness, and you're starting to feel lighter and feel better about yourself every time you say no to your lower urges. So you're going to start to really appreciate the practice of tapas, because with every no, you're going to lose weight. With every no, you're going to gain a positive self-image. With every no, you're going to gain self-respect. And with every no, other people will start to respect you. Okay. Now let's go on to the last one, which is the one where you're nagging your husband. Okay, again, we have to get really clear about what we want, the highest thing we want. We have to keep our attention on the highest thing, which is love and connection, right? So, you want your husband to love you, and you want to feel a connection with your husband. So stay there. So you're going to have to sacrifice your urge to nag him, your urge to get at him, to... In a sense, what you're doing, and we already talked about this, is you're taking energy from him. Every time you nag him, you're dragging him down because he's feeling overwhelmed. So instead, what you do is you resist every thought. You shut your mouth. Every time the thought comes up, I want it, you say, no, not going to say that. You resist every thought that arises to want to nag him. And then what you do is every time you're resisting all the small stuff, he's feeling freer, he's feeling loved by you, you're loving him, you're trusting him, you're appreciating him, because he doesn't feel drowned in your nags. Then, when finally the bigger thing comes along that needs to be addressed, that really does need to be addressed, he'll listen to you. Why? Because you didn't drown him in all of the little nags. So he has some space to be himself. And he has space to figure things out for himself. And I know this thing where you feel like you're losing control. You feel like, well, if I kind of control him, then I'll get some control. But it's the exact opposite that happens. So now what's going to happen is that every time you resist the urge to nag, he'll start to feel respected by you. And that he'll also notice that you're not acting out of this insatiableness, because you're on the level of the senses, which is insatiable, right? So now you're not on the level of the senses, so then he'll respect you more. And because the thing is about the senses is that he'll feel that you're never satisfied with him. That's the message that he's getting. Every time you nag him, like he just finished doing such and such a thing, and you're not satisfied because now you're nagging him again. So this is the senses acting out. This is not you. So don't fall onto the level of the senses. Raise yourself up. Resist the urge to be satisfied by the little gratifications the senses can give you. Say no to that. Stay in your center. hold on to the highest vision that you want, which is love and connection with all beings. And then you're going to really feel the power of this tapas, because coming from the place of feeling like you have no control, or you've lost control in your life, you're going to start gaining control. And you're going to feel the empowerment that you're meant to feel as a human being, because you're not controlled by the lesser senses. Instead, you're controlled by what the universe has to give us, which is really, I am the master of my universe. Okay, so we have completed today's Wisdom Wednesday, and I'll see you next Wednesday for another Wisdom Wednesday. Hope you liked it.